This episode of the Gamerheads Podcast is brought to you by Seven Bridges Premium Gourmet Yum Yum Sauce. Enhance every bite with our savory blends of flavors, perfect for meats, vegetables, and crispy treats. Whether you're dipping, drizzling, marinating, grilling, roasting, or snacking, Seven Bridges Yum Yum Sauce takes your culinary experience to the next level. Get yours today and make every meal a gourmet delight.
Hi, I'm Celia Schilling from Yacht Club Games.
Hey, this is James from Megacat Studios.
Hey folks, this is Matt, aka Stormageddon from Reignite and the Fun and Games Podcast.
This is Stephanie from the Boss Rush Podcast and the Boss Rush Network.
Hey, this is Mark and Keon from Bunte Avond.
Hey, this is Sebastian with the ProNerdReport.com and the Single Player Experience Podcast.
Hi, this is Chris.
Mike.
And Garrett from Daylight Basement Studio.
Hey, this is Baron J67 from Level 1 Gaming.
Hi, I'm Jacob McCourt from the Left Behind Game Club, Crossplay Conversations, and Video Game Trivia.
Hey, this is Todd Mitchell from Code Right Play.
Salutations, this is Mike Carroll from Stroll Art.
Hey, this is Jeff Moonen from Fun and Games Podcast.
What's good, y'all? This is Adam from Respawn Aimfire.
Hey, this is Patrick from the Backlog Odyssey.
Hey, this is Rune from Runic Codes.
Hi, this is Andrew from Spalato Bros.
Hi, everyone. Jill Grote here from the Indie Informer.
Hello, this is the Crypt Master, and you're listening to Roger you're listening to Roger on the Gamerheads Podcast.
And welcome to another episode of the Gamerheads Podcast. My name is Roger, and this week I have a very special guest, a returning guest. I have Dave Proctor, the director of Mighty Yell, and a wonderful person, and I think this is like your fourth time on the show, so welcome back.
I was like, who's the wonderful person?
Yeah. Well, welcome back.
That's the quality of jokes you guys are getting today.
That's
Sorry.
Right.
I think it's fourth time.
Did you see what?
Yeah, I saw what you're wearing. Roger's wearing a Rad Ghost shirt, and it's the best.
Yeah.
Which are available at mightylmerch.com. Sorry, I'll save the plugs for later.
No, that's fine. That's what this is what this podcast does. We just plug things. So
share for the plug. Yeah, great.
Well, welcome back to the show. I'm excited.
It's always good to be here.
I'm excited because we are going to be talking about Missile Command Delta, a game that you all co-developed on. So, so I will say this: I got to see it at PAX East. That was very cool. It was really cool. There was a long line. I didn't get to even play it because the line was super long. But this kind of came out of nowhere for me because I wasn't aware that you all were working on this game. So yeah, can you talk about that game? Like, can you tell us a little bit about what it's about and what the premise is?
Yeah. We kept our cards pretty close to the chest on this one because it is our first big IP project. Actually working with Atari to sort of reinvent and reimagine Missile Command. So we wanted to give it a little bit of a surprise until it was time to show it off. But the gosh, I'm so excited about this game, but answering that question is always like, oh wait, where do I even begin? So Missile Command, the original arcade game, is a game where you are defending a group of cities and missile bases from attacks from an alien menace, or depending on the iteration and the lore that you had access to read, and you are essentially clicking on missiles as they're coming in. It's very frenetic and very wild game, and it was something that I always loved. I always was really interested in Missile Command, especially when I started in game design school, because it's it tells a really deep story about with its mechanics. We can get into that a little bit later. But what Mighty Yell and 13am have done here, that Atari was 100% cool with, is we took that original gameplay and we brought it to a fully 3D environment with a really interesting mystery story. And instead of being an arcade rapid clicking reaction game, it is now a tactical strategy game.
Yeah.
And that sounds wild, but I think it really works. I think it's really cool. It's I mean, yeah, I have a lot of, I could just talk for an hour about this, but you should guide this conversation. I feel it's probably best.
No, that's good. That's great. Yeah, I will say, I have been playing the game, and I was like, whoa, this is so different than I expected. So, yeah, I'm enjoying it, and I
Right.
just it floored me. So,
Wow.
that's one of the questions some of the questions I have here, because the game, the story itself, just a little bit about this. It feels like out of an 80s film. Like when I was playing it, the first thing that I thought of was like, oh, war games. Like that was the first thing that kind of popped in my head. You know, and it's about friends that are exploring this bunker, and it's an old missile command bunker, and things start happening. What were some of the key influences behind the narrative and the tone of the game?
Yeah, I mean, war games is like, you did not feel that by accident. And like, I love like bunch of teens do a thing that is bigger than themselves movies, you know. War games is one. Red Dawn would be another one, right? And kind of fits in with the sort of Cold War panic of the original Missile Command. Like problematic politics aside, you know, like it's just like there for the vibes, not necessarily the message. But like that is what we wanted to do. It was like, okay, the sort of the way that the game kind of developed is we came up with the conceit of what we wanted to do in terms of a mechanic, in terms of tactical strategy version of Missile Command. And then it was, well, what's happening? You know, at Mighty L, we always try to make story a major focus of everything we do. I believe that games are toys that tell you stories. And so we're like, okay, well, if we're gonna do this, what is happening? And that element of mystery of you know, 4 kids that are like last week of summer, you know, heading into the woods for to check out this bunker that they've always been curious about. And they get in there, and as you said, things start happening. And when they're in there, the sort of the Missile Command terminals start coming to life, and they are kind of brought into this role, or the player character Sky is brought into this role of Missile Commander. And I just love that railroading into, you know, into something that is bigger than yourself, that changes your life forever. You know, those are big features in 80s action movies and 80s war movies. So why not?
And it's part visual novel too, so like that's one of the cool things, and the artwork is fantastic in this game too. I love the art in this game.
We wanted to tell the story of these characters and who they are, and you know, also like keep it with a pretty unique visual novel style. Like they're 3D characters posed, as opposed to like, you know, 2D sprites popping up and stuff like that. Just something that felt a little different. They're people that you can really walk up to and interact with in the world, which I thought was fun.
I love that. This is not one of my questions, but it's just a comment that I would like to make. I love a lot of the camo work in this game too, because there's this really cool where you go between character and character, and it just gives us 3D depth to it. Like I love the camo work in this game. I don't know. I was just taken aback by how cool everything looks in this game too. So I just want to make
that means a lot. Thanks. You know, the dialogue system was something that 13am spun up, kind of building off of their previous systems, but also like the fact that we get to work in 3D means that we get to do this weird stuff where like the visual novel is actually taking place in space. It's cool. I'm glad that worked.
Yeah, it's really cool. So we talked about this. The game does blend like this tactical strategy with this narrative mystery. How did you strike that balance, and what were some of the challenges with merging those two elements together?
Good question. So this pitch was originally, brought this to Atari and said, like, I think we should do this tactical missile command, kind of wrapped in what's going on here kind of bunker story. And I always said that, like, the people that I would want involved on this were Tom McCall, who's creative director on the game, who's the lead designer of a bunch of stuff on at 13am Games, and Unai Capitan, who's the narrative director on the game, who is just a really smart writer. And I was like, well, I would have hired these two guys anyways as a contract. And this opportunity came up that I got to like work with my old team at 13am Games. So something that they were really cognizant of and detailed about was like mapping out the actual beats of gameplay and beats of story. So like, what are you experiencing as Sky, and what does Sky need like to learn as a player, and also to learn as like an agent in this story, and constantly just like adjusting the pacing of those beats, so that you are and there's a third level as well of sort of environmental puzzles. Like if you've ever played any first person adventure games, like Myst, that kind of thing. I want to keep saying blueprints so that we just get the SEO bump from so it's exactly like blueprints in every way. But we had to kind of walk a line, Tom and I talk about like walking a line about being too handholdy and like not guiding the player too much, but also making sure that they learn these things and making sure that they that like the fun of learning how to play the game had to also be tempered with, you are stumbling on, what is essentially a 50-year-old military facility, and it's not necessarily going to be like, press the space bar, it has to actually be a little bit more of the player discovering it themselves, which was something that Tom really took pride in, and I think really delivered on. And the mystery development was something where, and I could constantly just bury layers and layers of really interesting story underneath these unfolded gameplay beats. And like, we talked a lot about like what how, and then you have these tactical elements, you have this mystery story, and the idea of it being a training facility kind of worked. You're approaching these puzzles, and they are sort of blocking progression, pardon me, and they're sort of like making it so that, what makes sense so that you are doing a terminal and it doesn't necessarily end the world when you lose. And then the idea of a training facility kind of came out of that.
Yeah, I love that. I think one of the things that I do love about this game too, and you talked about that, is just the puzzles in the game as well. And it is fun because there are certain areas, I don't want to spoil it, but there's this one area that when I first got to, I'm like, oh, this is a puzzle. I just don't know how to solve it yet, but I'm sure that I'm going to figure this out at some point. And then, later on, I'm like, oh, that ties into this. And like, it was just really well designed because I knew that, like, I just remembered, I remember seeing that. I need to go back and do this now with this piece of information. And I thought that was brilliant. I love that part of the game as well.
I'm so glad to hear that. Is this so there are puzzles that block your progression and there are puzzles that don't. Is this one of the ones that don't?
It doesn't. It just gives you more information. So
for those listening, there are if you're a real puzzle sicko like I am, there are puzzles that you need to do to sort of move through the game, but then there are also puzzles that are just present, and they may or may not help you access some interesting stuff later on.
And then the other thing that you mentioned, and I actually thought this was really well done too, is the fact that you are in the shoes and experiencing the game as Sky. And that's a hard thing to do, because I think a lot of times, how do you play it where you have the character have the same experience as you, and they know as much as you do, right? And this game does a really great job of tying in like listen, I'm playing Sky. Like, I know just as much as she does, and I'm just making this up as I go, right? Like, oh, look at this. I need to figure this out now. Okay, I need to figure this out now. I thought that was brilliant. I love that part of the game as well.
Thanks. Yeah, the way that Sky reacts to things, that she thinks about things, responds to people, comes from a place of like genuinely not having known it, but not in a but she's not a silent protagonist, a Gordon Freeman, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot more opportunities for player expression if you're not Gordon Freeman. And we give you a lot of options to sort of interact with the other 3 characters that are there, depending on how you feel about what they're saying and sort of how they evolve over the course of the game.
Yeah.
But also like, like you're someone that doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah.
It was, again, a testament to Unai's writing. It's a hard line to walk.
Yeah. Yeah. So you mentioned this is co-developed with 13 AM Games. I know this because you've mentioned this before, that you used to work there, right? You used to work there. So
I co-founded it. I was one of the 9 co-founders of that company. Yeah.
That's awesome. Can you talk about that partnership? How did that come together? What was that collaboration process like?
I I want it to be more exciting than just like, hey, do you guys want to do this? But it was kind of that. It was kind of like, hey, do you want to do this? Will this be cool? We, like I said, Tommy and I are so smart, and the rest of the team, like our director and the whole tech team, like they're really brilliant people. And I've worked with them a lot, and I just have nothing but love for like the people that have looked out for us in the past, right? And people that we collaborate with in general. So they had an opening, and we were kind of in the middle of a really thick part of All Systems Dance, and I was like, this is the perfect time to try kind of co-developing something. And we managed production, and we managed the sound and sort of administrative interaction with Atari. Overall design, like major design direction, executive production was me, but Tom really drove the game home and made a lot of decisions on like how to make it shine. And it was the first time that our studio, actually their studio as well, I think, have ever done like this sort of major co-production kind of energy, and I think it worked really well. It helps that we know each other very well, and we can speak each other's language very well, and call each other out on stuff, like because we like grew up together in our careers essentially. It was a good thing. Would do it again.
Nice. I love that so much. That's just something that I know that you've collaborated with other studios as well. I just think that's what I love about the indie scene. I just think that's such a cool aspect of the indie scene. So
it's really great. And we've got our regular audio team that we always work with. We've got an animator that we always work with, and now we have like this amazing studio that made games like Runbow and Dawn of the Monsters, that we can now add to our group of collaborators, and hopefully they add us to theirs. And we're now at the point where we're messaging each other saying like, hey, I put you on an application, okay, I put you on a pitch deck, and like, we're just getting to each other's immediate Rolodex.
That's awesome. One of the things that I was shocked, but I love the direction, is just the difference here that it's a hex grid system, the game itself, I should say, the gameplay, and a variety of missiles that makes the missile command aspect of the game feel more like a chess match. What inspired that shift in direction?
This was like the genesis of it, right? The initial moment. We were talking to Atari about the possibility of working together on some old IP, and we were given access to a list, which was a really wild moment where it was like, oh, this is all the games. and they said, there are certain games here that we have the recharged editions of and other versions of kind of on the marketplace. So if you wanted to do one of those, you'd have to really do something different with it. That was what they said to us. And I like Missile Command was always at the top of my list, and there was like a couple others where I was like, okay, interesting. I wonder what we could do there. And my producer asked me, he's like, what do you think they mean by like something really different? And I was like, I don't know. Like if Missile Command was a card game, and then I just stared blankly into the distance, and I was like, oh, nuts. That's it. I have to make that now. Yeah. And all I did that week, I made the worst prototype you've ever seen of this idea. And I am so much better at coding than I was 3 years ago. But the like I could probably rebuild the original version of this much faster. Yeah. But I roughed it out and I sent it to them. I was like, this is the idea. Yeah. This looks like garbage, but I need you to see this. And they got it. And then when we started working on it, I said, all right, Tom, Tom is a big card guy, big strategy guy. And again, the reason like why he is the perfect person to run this game. And I was like, it's, and I explained the concept to him. Like it's Missile Command, but it's turn-based and uses cards. And, you would like a missile would come in, instead of clicking on it to explode it, you sort of play something against it to match its direction and intercept it. Yeah. And I watched his face go, yeah, okay. And then just slowly like, huh. And his brain started doing the same thing that my brain did, which was like, there's so many cool things you can do with that idea.
Yeah.
And we just started like, oh yeah. And then we started pitching like there could be shields, there could be missiles that go in multiple stages, there could be lasers. Like we just blah, 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 blah. Right. Yeah. And he like, this is where, you involve yourself with smart people. Tom was like, it's gotta be a hex grid because it allows for diagonal movement that makes sense. Because every space is one space away. Right. And it like also allows for, mapping out explosions a little bit easier. Like that, like an explosion takes place in the 6 squares or hexes around this square that the thing is on. And then it was just iteration and design from there, like thinking more about, okay, now we have this hex grid. Well, what is gameplay? What does it feel like? And the one thing that we always wanted was that it had to feel reactive. It had to feel, because in Missile Command, you were always on your heels. You were always reacting to missiles coming in. So you never go first because you are the defender. And it's not the game defender. You are the defense. Yeah. And it is coming in, and you are always sort of playing against that reactivity. And then thinking in terms of like, okay, if I'm reacting, then maybe I can, then maybe part of the challenge is that I can't launch a missile from everywhere. So Tom started thinking about like bases, rather than them being destroyable in the arcade game where like you destroy a base, you're kind of down one, you can still fire missiles, etc. He realized that like, well, that puts us in impossible to win situations if you lose a base, because then like you might end up kind of screwed anyways, like if you had to fire a missile from that angle. Yeah. So the lose condition is just missile touches the ground. Any enemy missile touches the ground. And it sounds brutal, but you get good at it, right? Yeah. You get like it, like that sounds like a very unforgiving condition, but you get good at this game and you're like, no, nothing's touching the ground well on my watch. Yeah. And some of these missile challenges are absolutely wild. There's like 10, like piercer missiles coming in from either side. And you're like, well, what the hell do I do here? Yeah. And I don't know. You still feel very smart. Yeah. Everything about it is designed to like, you are never outclassed. You would never, I think you can, if you don't pick up any cards in the bunker, you can still win everything. Okay. It's a little harder, but yeah, it is there to test what we have taught you. And like stuff that, I don't know, the chess stuff, I love that you said that. It's a very like organic feel. Tom said to me like the like we wanted to sort of make you feel like you are thinking against an actual opponent. even if we've done a little bit more sort of like scripted and curated design. And then it was a question of just shaping the length of battles so that they, like encounters are 2 to 3 turns. They used to be 5 to 6 turns each, and like everything just kind of became nice and easy and to kind of fit that feeling of like, I can do this.
Yeah.
Even though I am technically, as a child in a bunker, very outclassed.
Yeah.
And I think that convergence of like how you're supposed to feel as a player and like you're always just like a little bit behind fully competent at this, because you're not a missile commander, you're a 17-year-old. And it feels right.
Yeah, I love that. It is fun. I mean, the thing, I will say this, it was interesting for me the moment that it clicked for me, because at first I was like, what's happening here? How am I doing, what is happening, how is this working? It's like, like, I think the first one for me was like, oh, these are 2-stage missiles. Oh, okay, I get it now. I get what's happening, right? And then I started, but it was really interesting to see things click for me. And then I'm like, okay, I think I can get this. I can get this now. And then one missile got through it. I'm like, okay, I know what I did wrong there. I know I can. And some of them are challenging. Some of them are very challenging, but none of them are barely long, sure. Right? So like that's the thing.
It. Mm-hmm. And they're short, which makes it forgiving if you goof and you got to do it again. Which again helps the training terminal element of it. Like if you were like, hey, this is actual missiles are coming in and everyone's gonna die. And every time, if they would feel too much. But by making them shorter and easier to reapproach and do again, not only is it like more forgiving kind of mentally, but also like the decisions that you have to make in these shorter battles matter a lot more. Right? They're a lot, like this is something that again Tom really focused on and wanted me to call out. Like it's something that we worked really hard on.
And the learning progression too, like I think that's also another thing. It's the first couple challenges are designed to get your feet wet. In fact, there's a tutorial, right, to really get your feet wet and then jump into the game. But my favorite moment, the first one in the actual game, the option after you win that scenario is, I think I just saved the world. And of course I had to select that, right? I think I just saved the world. They're like,
just save the world.
Didn't.
Good. Yeah. Sky's friends are keeping, her humble, keeping her feet on the ground.
I love that. One of the things that, because of such a major departure from the original Missile Command, I have to ask, were there any concerns about how fans of the classic might respond to this reinvention of how the game is played?
Yeah, I mean, it's always a risk, right? It's a tried and tested formula. It's a 40-plus-year-old game, and people know it, and it is cool, and it is very good, and it works. And we're like, but also, what if it was very different? I think being fans allowed us to really get to the heart of what Missile Command is. Against reactive, it's pressure, like that sort of core energy, like I think is really important, and that is something that we tried to bring to it. And we knew that people would maybe wouldn't be their grandma's Missile Command, and that's okay. That's part of it. You can see the YouTube comments on our trailer. They're there. They're like, this isn't Missile Command, and we're like, it's Missile Command Delta coming July 8th. But Atari was really good about encouraging us to do this. Something I've really loved about their slate of games lately: Yars Rising, Lunar Lander Beyond. These are games that are like, they're really interesting takes on the original concepts, and they just feel, I don't know, feels really, I'm happy to be a part of that lineage, but part of this sort of bringing things back and reimagining. And Atari, they say as much. There is Missile Command Recharged, and it is available on Steam, and you can play that, and it is a great game. And there are old, arcade versions of Missile Command that you can play, and they're great games. And so is Delta. That is how they've been talking about it. So they kind of have our back, and that is really all we needed to take this wild risk.
Yeah. I think for me playing it, and as you described it, it does feel like the original Missile Command. It feels to me like what that person in that bunker would be doing, right? For the actual running the missile commands, right? Like that's the cool part to me, I think. Yeah. I love that so much.
There was a moment, like this is gonna sound silly, but something clicked for me during development where, we wanted to depict, you can see it in the trailer. There is a big room, there is a skeleton, and I won't talk about the skeleton more than just evoking that it exists. And we were like, well, it would probably be wearing a Missile Command uniform. You're like, okay, so what do we think that should look like? And we started talking about it, and then we're like, wait, no, like we're making a Missile Command game. It's on the box. Like we can go look at the arcade wrapper. These people have outfits, and I was like, why did that not click for me yet? And then it just kind of like, it was that moment where we stepped in to the lineage of what we were creating.
Yeah.
And Mike, our art director, was just like, oh yeah, and then just started like drawing what these would look like. And I remember talking to Atari and thinking like, hey, can we reference this original art? And they were like, yeah. Of course. Of course you can do that. That's the, if you want it, if you want to reinvent it, you can, but by all means, that's what it's there for.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I hit this moment where I was like, oh yeah, okay, we're making a Missile Command game. It was cool.
That is cool. Yeah.
But yeah, we wanted people to feel like you would feel in that bunker. Like, who are these people in that bunker? And also like, who are these people like 40 plus years ago that are playing this game, and like, okay, a missile comes in and they're doing like 1 million calculations a second. We're taking that exact experience, but slowing it down to a crawl and letting you really chew through every tactical decision.
Yeah, I love that. And there's one thing I will say that old Atari games were really good at is the art on the cover of their boxes.
It's the best. It makes me so happy.
Yeah.
I've got it's just out of you. I've got an old box copy of Missile Command. I bought it the day that we signed the contract to make this.
Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool.
Yeah.
What is your favorite moment, or what are you most proud of or excited for players to experience in this game?
I want to build off of one of Tom's and kind of elaborate on that. Like he sent me with, his want is for people to find the secrets. There's a lot of thought gone into the secret areas that are woven throughout the bunker, and they are all, they're optional, but it's really interesting. There's a lot of effort that went into that from the team. And like, if you get stuck in like, if you're curious about how to maybe improve and learn in the game, in the battles, and also learn more about the narrative, like finding these finding these secret areas would be really cool. And like, because of that, I'm also my thing that I am the most excited about is for if people do follow that line and really uncover every corner of the mystery that we have here. We've laid out some stuff at the end of the game that I think is like, I think it's really cool. I'm like, I don't know if it's, people will have their own favorite mystery surprise endings of all time in video games, and you don't necessarily have to rank us there, but I do feel like we've tried really hard to make something that deserves a respect in that matter.
Nice. I will say that's one of the things that, I mean, outside of the game itself, playing the Missile Command part, just uncovering and unraveling like what is going on here, like what is like there's some weird stuff that's you're like, oh, what is this, what happened here, why is this note, why did these people leave this note? There's some real interesting things going on, and I think that's one of my favorite parts, just unraveling that mystery.
It's a fun story, and it's also, I think, an appropriate story about, how people connect with each other and how that functions in the face of like global conflict. And not just for our hero characters, but also for the notes that you find in the bunker. And I think that plays out in a way that it was what we landed on an ending that we had joked about when we started, as like, what if it ended this way? And we were really happy. First idea, best idea. It really works for me. So nice. I hope it works for everybody else too.
Nice.
And the final fight is just so much fun, whether or not you do the secrets. I just every, like, there's the training terminals, but then there's also these major attacks that you have to do, and every one of those is like clincher, and it's so much fun. Those are the ones you can lose.
Yeah, I will say I just started playing this game. I have not gotten to one of those. I think I'm at that part right now where I'm going against like an actual battle. And I will say it's kind of intimidating. I'm not gonna lie, it's a little intimidating.
Yeah, honestly, we're playing in a sandbox of a game that is not a hand-holding game.
Yeah,
and we had an opportunity to do some pretty challenging stuff, which I think is going to be really fun for the tactics nerds out there. But nerds, brackets positive, like myself. It's it's like, I think if you are someone who really likes to think through stuff, you will find those solutions and you will enjoy them.
Yeah.
And then there's all this other stuff, narratively around it that we think will make it really, really special for a lot of people.
Nice. So I know you mentioned your site already, but how can people follow you? How can people get the game? Because I mean, this episode's going to release when the game releases, so it's going to be the same day. So where can people get the game? And
you log on to Steam right now, or depending on what time it releases, in a couple hours, and you can get it on Steam, Switch, Xbox, PS5, PS4, just wherever fine video game products are sold. We've got you covered. And up until that point, like, I'm just going to be sitting here fantasizing about what y'all are going to experience the moment you play this game. Like, I'm by the time you hear this podcast, I will have gone through several existential crises of like, wow, I can't believe we're doing this. Gosh, I hope they like it. This game rules. Like, all of that is going to happen this week for me and the rest of the team. It's a heck of a game, and I'm really proud of it. And I'm really proud of the work the team did.
Yeah, I will say the thing that I enjoy most is just the human aspect of this game as well. I don't think that you just don't get that in the games nowadays, like a lot of games, I should say. And there's just something about the human aspect of the game, not just for the characters that you're playing, but also there's stuff going on in this bunker that you're uncovering, and you're like, okay, there's something else happening here. Those people had lives as well. Like, there's just, it's really good. I love the human aspect of this game.
Games are, I think that's a really important thing to identify. Like, games are like, stories are about people, and I think it's important to tell a broad section of stories, to just kind of keep us all feeling as connected as possible. And games are made by people, and there are things that are relevant and meaningful to all of us in that story. Left it all on the stage.
Yeah. Well, Dave, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to meet with me and talk about Missile Command Delta. I'm excited for you all. Like, that, this is such a cool game, so I'm really excited for the release of this game.
Thank you so much, Roger. Honestly, it's always a blast to hang out with you. I really enjoy that I can make you laugh. It makes me feel very good. See?
Yeah,
my whole day. Just
all day, every day. Yeah. No, it's fun having you on the show too. So
yeah, anytime.
And listeners, I will put links into the show notes where you can find the game. You can follow Dave on social media as well. Make sure to go, wishlist it, pick up the game. This game is really, really cool. So.
Did I say, I'm just going to repeat it one more time because I
yeah.
feel like I maybe missed a console, but this is available everywhere.
Yeah.
Again, Steam, Switch, PS5, PS4, Xbox, slightly older Xbox, all of it. We have got you covered.
And Switch 2. I'm playing on Switch 2.
Oh, and Switch 2,
yeah.
obviously.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for listening. Until next week, everyone, stay safe and game on. Bye. Hey, I just want to thank our patrons for those that are at the $3 tier or more. And those people are Adam and Matt and Sarah. Thank you so much for supporting the Gamerheads podcast. Your support helps us produce this show. So thank you so much.